Is it okay to not be okay? The answer is yes, and maybe not. Maybe you need to challenge yourself. Maybe there needs to be some intervention. I am always talking about balance when it comes to our mental health journey. And it is super important that when we are not okay, that we allow ourselves to feel, but we also don't allow ourselves to stay there. Do you see the balance there? Your not being okay might be situational. It might be just a season of your life, but it might actually be depression. I want you to know that it is okay to not be okay, but I also want you to come up with a plan. If you follow me, you know that I have experienced unimaginable grief and trauma over a period of 20 years. I lost a son in a drowning accident, then 10 years of medical trauma with my son Reggie, and he passed away in 2016. And then my daughter died in her sleep. And then most recently, I lost my husband. Intertwined with multiple traumas in the midst of all of that. And so I understand not being okay. If you've watched my documentary, I am vulnerable in my grief process, and you see me not be okay. You see me crying hysterically on my bed. You see me talking about suicidality, but you also see me working through it. I wanted to call my documentary Confronting Grief because that's what I did. So when you are not okay, I want you to allow yourself to be there, but also come up with a plan to get out of it. I want to go through the lyrics of the song, I Am Not Okay. And it is a very popular song right now. It's being replayed, short versions of it on TikTok. It is a very popular song. And unfortunately, I think it's a popular song because so many of us resonate with not being okay. This song is by Jelly Roll. I encourage you to go listen to it. But it starts with, I am not okay, barely getting by. I'm losing track of days and losing sleep at night. Goes on, I am not okay. I'm hanging on the rails. So if I say I'm fine, just know I learned to hide it well. That's the first lyrics. And that is very heavy, and it is resonating with so many people. And even that last part of hiding it well, I think this is important to stop and talk about. And this is why I wanted to do the documentary, because sometimes people see me on these videos, or they see me at work, or public speaking, or I'm out helping people, or even on vacation having fun. And they think that I'm okay, that I've, gone through this grief. And for them, they're not okay on the inside. And so they feel like when they're having those moments of function, that they're faking it. And so this song allows all of us to resonate with, I am not okay. But I also want to focus on the positive and not just the negative, because if we focus on how we're not okay all the time, it's going to be even harder to be okay, to find joy, to find happiness. I was talking to someone who I dearly love a couple weeks ago, and she said she is so tired of faking it, that she really is not okay, to the point of suicidality. And I say this all the time, that feeling of suicidality, let's make it just a feeling, not an action. And let's learn to shift. Yes, you're not okay, but you can be, and you can find joy, and you can find happiness. I'm going to break down the lyrics to this song, and I don't know Jelly Roll, and a lot of times artists are singing from their experience, and they're using words. I am not in any way saying that Jelly Roll has depression. However, There is enough evidence in this song. If this resonates deeply with you, I want you to consider that maybe you are experiencing depression. So I went over the first paragraph of the lyrics, and I'm barely getting by. That is a decrease in function, which is one of the signs of depression. If you look at the DSM criteria for depression, you need to have 5 of the symptoms. So I'm barely getting by. That's a decrease in function. Losing sleep at night. That's insomnia. That's one on the list. A loss of interest. When I'm hanging on the rails, I say I'm fine, but I'm faking it. That's a loss of interest in life. I'm going to skip the second and go to the third stanza, which has more. I woke up today and I almost didn't get out of bed. Fatigue is another sign of depression. Had the devil on my back and voices in my head. Now, he doesn't say exactly what those voices are, but as a mental health professional and as someone who has struggled with negative thoughts, I can imagine they are negative thoughts. If you look at the DSM criteria, those negative thoughts need to be, kind of extreme of worthlessness and those kinds of things. Worthlessness, helplessness, hopelessness. That is another symptom of depression. We all have negative thoughts, so that they're not always clinically significant. But we can assume that they are because the lyrics go on to say, some days it ain't all bad. Some days it all gets worse. Some days I swear I'm better off lying in the dirt. Now, you have to read into that a little bit, right? But there is a passive suicidality around that statement. And you don't have to be suicidal to meet the criteria in major depression for that, because it says thoughts of death, thoughts of suicide. I've had many people say to me, I would never kill myself, but I don't want to wake up. I wish I were dead. Or it might be or feel easier if I were dead. So if this song resonates with you, and you're actually experiencing all those things, I want you to really evaluate whether that is just not being okay in a situation or a season, or if it's depression that needs an intervention. And if you are seeing someone for your depression, I want you to feel like that intervention is at least giving you a 50% improvement, right? There is no pill or single intervention that is going to completely take away your depression. However, we need to look at this feeling as we are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual beings. So let's go back to the lyrics of that song. I know I can't be the only one who's holding on for dear life. That is beautiful. This is the whole anti-stigma. He is standing up for, I'm singing this song because I know there's a lot more people out there that feel the way that I feel. Connecting with this audience, connecting with all of us. But then he goes on to talk about God. And in our culture, we have this thing that we have separated our spiritual health from our mental health. And if you go to your psychiatrist, they will likely not feel comfortable helping you on your spiritual journey. But I just want to point out how important it is. So he says, but God knows I know when all is said and done, I am not okay, but it's gonna be all right. He repeats this in the last half of the song over and over again. And this is where we talk about the positives in our lives. We need to be saying to ourselves more than the negatives. So yes, it is okay to not be okay. But if you keep singing the first half of this song and not the second half of this song, you're putting fuel on the negative fire instead of the positive fire. There are positives in your life, and I know some of you feel like there are none. but there are. And only you can dig deep and find that motivation to find them. When I was in the midst of this 20 years of kind of trauma and grief, and even, as early as a couple months ago, it's like, how much more can one person take? I am tragically optimistic. I tell the story of my son who had this medical trauma for 10 years. I really believed that I was going to be able to find treatment for him. And when even the day that he passed and I'm calling 911, I did not think he was going to die. And then for life to just keep hitting me with more grief and more trauma, you can imagine I wanted to give up. But I just keep pushing through, confronting grief, releasing trauma. And your story might not be exactly my story, but the popularity of this song, so many people it's resonating with. I am not okay. I'm barely getting by. And it's okay to sing that song and to allow yourself to feel the reality of your situation. But my challenge to you is the second half of the song. Continuing to find the positive, knowing it's gonna be all right, and addressing spiritual conflict. He has a verse, I know one day we'll see the other side. The pain will wash away in a holy water tide, and we are all gonna be all right. So in this super popular song that has gone viral because it is resonating deeply with people, there's also a call to action to address who you are spiritually and to believe in the positive. Believe that it's going to be all right. Now, are my children going to come back to me in this life? No. But I can have an eternal connection with them. I can find the gratitude that I got to be their mom. There's so many ways to work through the things that have happened in your life. And it's not easy. You don't just watch this little video and then, decide. It is absolutely not that easy. But I do believe you can do it. I'd love for you to join my community where we are embracing the journey of mental strength. We are confronting grief. We are letting go of trauma. Click on the link. Give us your email address. We will, just be sending newsletters and giving you ways to join the community. I'm Cristi Bundukamara. I'm actually a psychiatric nurse practitioner with over almost 25 years of clinical experience. But as you heard in bits and pieces of my story, my real strength and expertise and authority comes from my story. And I want to turn my pain into purpose. And I want you to be able to turn your pain into purpose. If specifically you are dealing with intense traumatic grief, please go and look at my grief playlist. I have been doing videos about grief for 5 years, since a year after my son died. So you get to see the vulnerability, but also the progress in how do you actually process grief. So come, join our community and embrace the journey of mental strength.